Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back. So happy for y'all to be here. You still having fun? Are you still having fun? How are your feet? Are you hydrating? Do you have comfortable shoes? These are all survival skills you need at Microsoft Ignite. But welcome. My name is Caruana Gatimu, and I want to welcome all the folks who are viewing online. We appreciate your attention. You are in a course today about leading change and becoming a Microsoft Service Adoption Specialist. And I can't tell you how happy I am at how full this room is. Adoption work is having its moment. And for me, that's a kind of a hard-won, long-fought battle. And so I'm really excited that people are beginning to understand the importance of doing adoption work. We've talked about organizational change management for a very long time. How do you take people through change? And for those of you with a science or maybe a technology background, there's a lot of neuroscience around the way the brain and the psyche ingest change. That's a very deep topic. I can do a whole segment just on that. But just know that the thought processes and the procedures that we've put together in this course really take that into account, but in the context of technology, business, and Microsoft services. And that's really our differentiator, because we're asking people to change their behavior. And you don't have to do this journey alone. There's a lot of folks now inside Microsoft, and myself in particular, who are dedicated to helping all of you lead the change that needs to happen so that you can feel like you're really getting the most from your investment. But this, for me, also is a personal journey. I have the best job in the world. I absolutely love my job. I would literally do it for free. Please don't tell my boss, because I actually need that paycheck. But I do love it. And people ask me all the time, hey, Caruana, how'd you get this job? Well, my path to here was not necessarily a straight shot. I don't have a computer science degree. Right? And so I come here a little bit differently, and I thought, wow, how could I help other people do what I do? Because I know they're going to need to. And that's part of why we structured and created this knowledge base and this course. Because also business needs more than technology deployments. I've been an IT pro, I've done a lot of technology deployments, I've been a SharePoint administrator, I was a Lotus Notes administrator. Anybody out there have those battle scars? Yes, there's my people. Lotus Notes and GroupWise and Novell and all that stuff, that's how old I am. But the truth is that the thread between all of those technologies was that deploying it was never enough, right? We needed more than that. Also, the organizational change management methods that you can get certified in, and they're great certifications, ProSci and others, there's lots of university programs, they're fantastic, but they tend to focus on the people side, right? And they're generic to a certain extent because they're trying to help people have a framework for understanding broad change. But what we wanted to do, and what I wanted to do in particular, was deliver something that was specific to Microsoft services. Right? Microsoft services, SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams, all of these technologies, even Azure and other solutions that you might create with our AI services, we wanted to bring those things together. There also wasn't already a standardized approach to this knowledge base. We wanted to make sure that we could integrate traditional IT management methods like ITIL with agile service management and service adoption. How many of you consider yourselves to be an IT pro in this room? Okay, some of you, yeah, actually a lot of you. All right, well, if you're an IT pro, then you know that if you study ITIL, which is a modern service management method, it doesn't really talk that much about adoption. It talks about service health, but it doesn't really talk about usage. So when I worked in Microsoft IT and we were transforming into an agile service management organization, there was a lot of difficulty in people understanding that service owner role. What does it mean to own a service in a company? And the service is not the technology. If you're a service owner, you own collaboration services. That is separate from whatever technology you use to deliver it. But in that job description, nowhere does it say employees will be happy with your service. No one says you will be measured by how many people use your service versus the nearby consumer app that's insecure. It doesn't say that. And so we wanted to take an opportunity to define this as an industry standard role. Because there's many other names for it, but for us, this service adoption specialist was important because also all of you are at a moment in time where you can use this space and this knowledge to transform your career. More and more people with these talents are going to be needed in the years to come. And we want to fill that funnel with people educated in an appropriate way that will really deliver high quality implementation. So it was about standardizing that quality. These are the different kinds of roles that exist today. We see them crop up all over the world. Change can't be enabled by IT alone, at least not traditional IT. IT also has to transform. And this is all coming to a head also, not only because of the pace of change or our favorite new phrase, tech intensity. I think that's the new phrase. I've now used it, check. But the key there is that new roles are showing up in IT, but because they're quote unquote non-traditional, sometimes it's very hard. If you're the non-traditional person in a traditional IT department, it can feel a little bit lonely. I can attest to that. And so it's important to have this standard of quality and standard of knowledge that you can have in your back pocket that is validated by a company like Microsoft. And having that IT background is a great way to come to this work, but it's not the only way. Right? You can come to this from business, you can come to this from communications, you can come to this from training, you can come to this work from either the business side or the technical side of the house. Right? Because as you do that, of course, you're going to need to learn the opposite side skills. We're going to talk today about these 6 knowledge areas. We're going to overview some of the strategies and tactics for adoption implementation. I'm really going to focus, rather than deep diving on the framework itself, today's course is going to be about taking the class. And there is an online course for this, and I want to prepare you for this. That's how you're going to get your certification or your certificate from edX. And then I also want to make sure you're connected to the community so that you can get your questions answered. Learning from each other is more important than any of you learning from me. You are the knowledge base that I learned from. Right? Having been in the SharePoint community, run a lot of SharePoint Saturdays and what have you, if there's one thing I can say propelled my career to be in this privileged location, it was the community. Being involved in the local user groups, knowing the MVPs, meeting different partners, finding out what other people were doing, being curious, and liking to go to parties with pizza. Liking to throw parties with pizza, right? But that social interaction, and there's a variety of kinds of it for introverts and extroverts, or I think the word is bivert, whatever they call me, because I'm kind of both. There's the kind of interaction that can work for you. That's why virtual communities are so important. Not everybody wants to go out to a social event to propel their career. That's not everyone's style, and that's fine. That's what the virtual communities are for. These are the 6 skill areas that are required to study to become a service adoption specialist and to actually drive successful adoption projects. I remember the first time I put this slide up in front of anyone, they said, why is all that on the same slide? All right? And I said, well, because we are unicorns, because this is what you need to know to do a good job. Right? You have to understand organizational development. How is your company structured? Right? What are the dynamics of the structure that you have? What are the dynamics between the different divisions and leaders? You need to have business acumen. Right? If you come from the IT side of the house, this is one of the areas you may need to study. You need to understand your company's profit and loss statement. How does it make money? What are its largest costs? How does it control costs? What are its investments? Right? Understanding that, almost like from a mini MBA perspective, is very important to be able to prioritize your technology projects. But if you come from the communications or business side of the house, you need to bone up on your technical competence. It's extremely important that you understand, at least to a 200, maybe 300 level, the various services you're working in. Because if you sit at the table with IT people and you're a business person and you really don't understand the technology, you will lose credibility. More than anything, being a service adoption professional is about building trust. It's about building trust in you, in what you can deliver, and in your strategy. You are leading people through change, through the fire of change. And so they need to believe in you, right? And that is your most important asset. Marketing and communications, of course, portfolio management, and leadership capability, each of these have a key item underneath them. What is your message? What is your message? We're rolling out Microsoft Teams. That's not a message, that's an event. Okay, I have no emotional reaction to that except that I don't want to talk to you because you're changing my reality. right? I don't want to talk to you. Leave me alone. I'm trying to get some work done. Don't bug me, is the reaction to that message. But we're doing work to become more competitive. We're going to innovate. We're going to change our culture. Think of the things that Satya, you have heard him say about our company. Right? I do have an emotional response to that, and especially over the course of time. The first time you hear it, someone's going to react to you with cynicism. Right? That's just a natural state. They're going to push back, and they're going to come from a cynical perspective. But when they hear you over time, and they see you over time, and they realize that your priorities are their priorities, which is this next one in the list here, they start to believe. And that leads you to the X factor. You have to make people believe in what you're trying to accomplish. And this has nothing to do with Microsoft technology. If we do this right together, you will be transforming and improving the lives of the employees in your organization. That's the goal. That's why it's about the people. Right? And keeping those users at the center of your priorities also really helps with doing that prioritization. Many times I'll come and work with a company and they'll talk about the fact that they need to maybe move from Exchange on-prem to the cloud, and they need to do a SharePoint migration, and they want to roll out Teams. And they tell me this, because the first thing I do when I meet with a customer is I say, well, what's important to you and where are you at? And then I stop talking, which is an amazing thing. My husband would never believe it, but I actually know how to listen and stop talking. But that's one of your most important skills as a specialist. You have to listen first and talk later. So you do that. They tell you these things, and depending on who you're talking to, sometimes they won't tell you anything about their business goals. And you have to say to them, those are great technical goals. I hear what you're saying. What's your company trying to accomplish? Then you really start to dig in. That's the secret sauce, because that's the kind of leadership you want. If any of you are sitting in an IT department, or maybe you're a department of one. I was a department of one at one time. Right? I was the project manager. I managed the servers. I did the help desk. I wrote the documentation, and I trained people. Woo! And then I slept for an hour and went back to the office. Because it's super stressful when you do it that way. But the thing is, if you want to have budget, and you want to have people work for you, and you want to increase your career capability, the ability to empower business folks is where it's at. So we know that our successful customers navigate adoption by leaning into these 5 steps. They have a vision, they have leadership support, they raise awareness, they train their people, they invest in their employees, and they stay engaged. Adoption is a journey, not an event. A deployment is an event, and that's awesome, and we love that. And we love to deploy teams, and we love to deploy all of our services. But actually driving value is a journey. From the moment they come into that experience and start to understand it, to as they begin to see how it can apply to their particular business. We talk a lot about these benefits of organizations moving to the cloud. This slide isn't new. It's actually been around for a while. Some of you may have seen it before. And the things that you're very familiar with, of course. IT as a service, at any time, anywhere access, etc. I'm going to pause, let you all take those pictures. I love that now, right? Everybody takes pictures in the presentation. It's fantastic. But what's less prioritized is this. Please take a picture of this one. Why don't you take a picture of this one? Because this is the priorities and the benefits for your employee. Those are the people who are going to make you successful. Right? And it's the water cooler buzz. What do people say about your technology deployment at the coffee pot when you're not listening? Okay? So having IT out of the way. This doesn't mean that we go away. In a cloud service world, people originally worried that IT was not going to have a job. We have a job. We have a very intense job. It's just different. I don't spend time managing servers or patching them. I move them to the cloud. I use Azure, right? I do different things with virtual machines. But my job to deliver value remains actually even more complicated. Managing anywhere, anytime access, not being tied to my desk or to my computer. How many of you have employees that are out in the field? We call them first-line workers, service people, any of that, right? You know you need to empower them, and you need to do it in a secure way, though. But the time delay between them realizing there's a problem and you finding out about it at headquarters can be very, very detrimental depending upon the business that you're in. Right? And this is why Microsoft Teams, of course, is one of those key services that we're talking about adopting, because it can solve so many of those problems. Do it with agility in a secure experience. Right? But here's the other thing that people don't think about. Your employees are the ones who are delivering innovation. Right? They're the ones who are going to come up with a new idea, big and small. Right? Maybe it's not the new world-class device, but it could be an innovation in your business process that saves you money and transforms your customer service. You want to unlock that. That's the purpose of communities like you can have with Yammer. That's the purpose of connecting people together that maybe don't sit in the same physical space. So you want to enable that. Your job as a service adoption specialist is to translate the executive and company strategy through middle management, where sometimes it can go off track, or get lost, or get stalled, sometimes intentionally, to the employee experience. Right? Now, all of this it's a theory. I'll grant you that. It's a theory. But in the course itself are the tactics. Because for me, this work is not successful if you can't actually do it and you can't translate it into your industry. Now, one thing I will say is, as we continue to invest in the course, we're going to be releasing additional modules. So in the quarter in January, we'll have a module that's more targeted for small to medium business. Because how this work shows up in a very large organization, like for instance Microsoft, 150,000 people all around the world, that project plan is very different from a project plan for maybe 2, 3, 5,000 folks in just a few locations. Right? And that's the difference between being a beginning service adoption specialist and an enterprise service adoption specialist. I can do the 500,000 people of the Air Force, right? I know how to do that, and it doesn't keep me awake at night, although sometimes a little bit. You don't want to be the gal who screws up the Air Force, right? That would not be good. But the point there is that, and that's about generic. I'm using that as a generic example, but making sure that you can scale this work is really important. Noticing here, these are the areas of business acumen that are most important to an adoption specialist, right? How do you influence strategy and culture in your environment? And who are the existing influencers? Who does the average employee really listen to in your company? Right? What are the product improvement methods that you need? You can see them here, but these are very standard kind of business methods. But when you think about the technology, you have to marry it to the solution that will help solve the problem or deliver the value. So the first line worker example, right? The first line worker example is a very relevant one for lots of organizations. Having secure communication. Well, we have services that will solve that problem, right? And you can do some very simple development work with line of business applications or with our partners, right, to enable things like more information from your service calls or alerts when there's a service escalation in the field, things of that nature. Using Power BI, you can pin a dashboard in Teams and management can see, what's happening. What's the ticket close ratio in your organization? Like when you start talking about things like that to your leadership, the other thing that happens is funding magically appears. Okay? How many of you have ever done a project where you asked for training and documentation budget? Did you get that money? No. Everybody's shaking their head. No, you didn't. Neither did I. That's how come I wrote it myself. But here's the thing. When I started doing this work a long time ago, I hadn't learned this yet. And I didn't realize that the way to do that is to talk about the business outcome, right? Because especially now, people have this expectation. I reach for my phone. People have this expectation because of these, that you can hand someone a new piece of technology and they'll just know what to do with it, right? Enterprise applications are not like that. They never have been. They're pretty intuitive, I'll give you that. Teams is pretty intuitive, but you still need to learn what to do with it in your environment. But you have executives who expect it to be like the app that they just downloaded on their phone, right? So that's what you're doing. So you have to say, listen, Mr. Vice President of Sales, you'd like to have more clarity about the close ratio on your deals. Well, if we onboard and do this, this, and this, here's the dashboard you're going to have. I have spent a good deal of time doing proofs of concepts to do visual presentations to my stakeholders. They need pictures. Not because they're not super intelligent people, but because that's how they think. Conceptual people think in visual images. So we have to learn how to communicate to them, not in the white paper, but in the presentation format, so they can easily see what you're proposing, all right? And this definitely goes to understanding this flow. What is the current state? What are the capabilities the technology is going to offer? What are the technical limitations? And you'll note the red line around this. This is why it's so important to really understand the services. If you're coming from a business perspective, you might suggest something and the IT person across the room from you is gonna go, ugh. You ever seen that look? It's a very, they train us for that in IT pro school. Ugh. And you roll your eyes and you let the little huff out and you move your coffee cup and you just kind of do this, right? And so can you read that body language? That means, oh, that person doesn't know what they're talking about. You want to avoid this, right? You want to avoid that look. We're better at that now, right? We're more, a little more well-rounded at this point. But the truth is, it's very important not to suggest things that you can't deliver. So before you do that executive presentation about your brilliant idea, go talk to your IT pro partner. That person is your partner. And this happens a lot in many organizations. The communications and strategy and business management folks don't talk to the IT professionals, right? As a service adoption specialist, your job is to bring those folks together. Your job is to create connections and long-term relationships amongst those folks who are doing this work so that you can understand it. Because you won't be able to do this marketing and communications work with your end users if your core team, right, isn't able to function together, right? They have to be able to function together. So let's also talk a little bit about the resources we have. So that leadership capability is very important. And you're definitely going to want to take a picture of this one. I'm going to show you all this stuff. And of course, you'll be able to download this presentation within about 48 hours off of the main Ignite site. But this is the reference material that you're going to use to study for and take the online course. All right? And it all really starts, I'm going to show this to you here, one moment. All right, it all really starts here at the Microsoft Adoption Hub. Now, if you were in my session this morning, you probably saw me show this, but I want to give this to you in the context of the test itself. So the M365 Adoption Framework is what the course is built off of. It was rewritten last year to include this more real world, I call it truth from the trenches materials, and to make it a little bit more actionable. Since then, we've assembled and pulled together all of the different adoption materials across the different services. We're going through what we call a coherence project right now because teams and security and compliance all snap to that new framework, but some of the others have the old one, but that'll be done by the end of this fiscal year, by the end of June. And so the materials that you find here are really important, but there's also some other important links. This is where you join that Worldwide Champions program, the community that I told you about. Many of the people who have taken the test are in that community. You can ask them questions, you can build off each other's knowledge. And here, of course, is the link to the course itself. The course itself right now is delivered via edX, our partnership with edX, and we will be moving this to Microsoft Learn. There's some work to do to make it a numbered exam, as you can imagine. So for the moment, we're going to do it here. But when we do move it to Microsoft Learn in broad availability, your existing credential will transfer to that system. So make sure you keep that email address or log in with one you're going to have because your email address in the system is your identity. And so that is how your credential on your certification will transfer over to the Learn system as we do that work over the next 6 months. So this course runs on a quarterly basis. So if you sign up for it in a quarter, you have to finish it in that quarter. So if I sign up for it in September, I have to complete it by the end of December because it will roll over and you'd have to start again. So make sure you finish it in that quarter. The curriculum here, which I want to show a little bit, all of this is available online. And the truth is, you can take the online course for free. It's the certificate from edX that's signed by Satya that costs $99. Right? And I usually tell folks that they can expense that through their businesses, but if you're an independent consultant, then that would be your own investment. But for me, it was a small investment to do these kinds of certificates as I was pursuing my career. And there's another thing I'm going to tell you, a little secret. Buy yourself an Office 365 tenant, your own, that you can play with and work in. It's $12 a month, right? You don't have to get the fancy one. You don't have to get everything. But that will give you access to the admin portal. And the admin portal is where your IT professionals live. And if you haven't seen the admin portal and you don't understand how it works, it'll be difficult for you to understand the technical limitations that those IT pros are dealing with. Right? Also, it gives you a great place to test things out where you know you're not going to break anything. Like, for instance, I'm not an administrator on the Microsoft Office 365 tenant. I don't want that job. That's a scary job. They call you in the middle of the night for that job, right? I don't want that job. So, but I do need to understand and test these things. So that is how I learned, right? Hands-on training on myself. And that's what you'll find in the course here as well. It definitely goes through and mirrors all the materials that you'll find on the Microsoft Adoption Hub and the way that we think about adoption in general. And I want to pop this up here, especially from I'm going to go back to the very beginning here, especially from our Teams toolkit. So if you're doing, so the course uses Microsoft Teams as its example service. Right? And I actually chose that on purpose, not that the things you're learning don't apply to SharePoint and OneDrive and Yammer, they absolutely do. But Microsoft Teams is a bit more of a complex implementation. There's a lot of workloads and there's a lot of work that can be done there. And depending upon whether or not you're coming from the cloud or on-prem, there's considerations you have to make. Are you coming from Skype for Business, et cetera? And so thinking about those things is really a multi-layered project plan for an adoption specialist. And so that's why I selected that as the service. But as you go through the courseware, you will also find access to assets like this, our day in the life tools. So these day in the life tools can be downloaded online, and it's just one example of how you can empower your employees. Now these day in the life tools, they're built by Microsoft, my team, and so consequently you can't really edit them, right? You can use them, but you can't really edit them. But in a way, they're really serving as inspiration, and that's true of many of the assets you'll find on the Adoption Hub. You'll need to brand them for yourself. You'll need to change the language, et cetera, that sort of thing, so that everything will land in your own environment, right? But this can be inspiration for how you should do that. And for some organizations, this works just fine, right? We have them by a variety of different roles, and it really helps people understand how they're supposed to use the technology, again, in a visual way. Please remember that as you're driving awareness and communicating about your plans, people learn in different ways. There are different learning modalities. Some people are visual. Some people can have high reading comprehension. Some people need to learn through auditory methods. Some people need to have their hands on it. When you're driving change and adoption, you need to understand how your audience needs to ingest the information. Don't just send them a long email and think people are going to read it. I won't. An email is not a communications plan. Repeat after me. This is not a communications plan. It's a lovely way of letting some people know what's going on, right? But that is not a communications plan. Any good communicator will tell you that. So make sure that you're thinking about omnidirectional communication. What signage can you put up, right? In our organization, we printed cups, right? We put clings on elevator doors, right? We had live events in a lunchroom with purple cupcakes. Right, or donuts, excuse me, they were purple donuts that we created. Right? Do things like that. And never underestimate the power of food. Food is very important. And I mentioned this in one of my other classes too. Not only is food important because it's a bonding activity that people can do together, which also does different things in the brain, but it's also important to have consistent and well-structured meetings. I was talking about this in the context of governance the other day, if you're going to have a governance council, but it applies to the kinds of cross-discipline meetings that you as an adoption specialist would be running. Have them start on time. Have a clear agenda. Don't be the one who talks all the time. Invite other speakers. Have some food. Ask your attendees what a good time for these meetings are, right? Make it participatory and collaborative, but crisp. And that type of meeting will begin to build their confidence in the way you're going to run this, right? Because again, remember, cynicism to trust, that's the journey that you're on. There's another one of these adoption toolkits for security and compliance. I encourage you to go and look at it. You'll find it on that main Microsoft Adoption Hub. And we'll continue to create these. We have one that's coming out for teamwork in government. We'll be landing them for healthcare and some of the other industry work that we've been doing, first line worker. And they all snap to this idea of having a 3-phase plan to be able to scale. That's harkens over to that agile service management I was talking about from an IT perspective. You may have an end-to-end year-long project for transformation, but you want to have clear milestones along the way at 30, 60, 90, 180 days where you're communicating key wins and progress. One of the things that we have to deal with if you've come from IT is that people didn't have trust in us in IT because they'd meet with us, they'd share a problem with us, and then we'd just go away, right? We'd go away, we wouldn't say anything, right? And they're like, well, where'd that IT guy go? Because at the time, it was often a guy, even though I'm not, but the point is, where did that IT person go, right? Well, the truth is, the IT person was back in their office trying to figure out how to solve the problem. But because traditionally there haven't been communications people in IT, no one was talking to the business user. Then the business user gets a bucket of money, and what do? Do they go back to the ghost IT person, or do they go to some handy-dandy supplier and just make their own thing? Right? They do the latter. So when you come back this time, you come back and you say, hey, Mr. Business Person, what is your problem? And then you're going to communicate. Weekly with those people would be my preference, but it'll work in your organization. But you have to over-communicate because you're building trust with them. They have to know that you're not going to ghost them and just go somewhere else and not solve their problem, because they will still go spend that money elsewhere, right? Because they need to solve that problem right now, 9 times out of 10. So as you think about this, I want to put up for you, this is the actual adoption framework itself. You'll hear different people at Microsoft, depending upon their roles, talk about different phases. Envision, onboard, and drive value. These are the phases that have been around for quite a long time. Our fast-track teams who are free teams of technical talent who can help you with deployment work. We'll talk about the work in that way, and some of our field teams. Right underneath that, you can see Get Started, Experiment, and Scale. Right? Those are the kind of agile IT references that we have merged together as we have evolved this framework. And so each section there, and then on that website that I showed you, there's the overall M365 adoption deck. It's like, 70 pages long. There's a lot of information in that, but more importantly, the workbook. And the workbook has all of the different worksheets that you can use to fill things out. Now, that is not a requirement for the certification of the course, but it probably is a requirement for getting the work done, right? So you'll want to take a look at that, as well as the way that we lay out the work in Microsoft Teams. This is straight out of the Teams toolkit in terms of the phases that we recommend, and all of that information, of course, is available in our main hub. All right. So I want to make sure you understand how important this connective tissue you're building is. So you're gonna go study for the course. You're going to listen to the videos and read the articles and take the quizzes. You're going to pass the final exam. I wrote that final exam last holiday while I was on my holiday, and I'm happy I'm not writing a new one this year. You should be happy too. But I will tell you that I am going to add more, as I mentioned, modules to the course. So good idea to get it done before the end of the year if you can. But the thing is, the soft skills are really important, right? And they call them soft, but I believe they're extremely hard, right? Listening without judgment. How easy is that to do? It's not. Understanding the dynamics of people who may or may not get along in your organization. Being that person who can bring them together, right? Being mindful of the types of conversations you have with people. I was in a service adoption planning meeting once at an organization, and they were having a conflict about governance rules. Right? The user experience people wanted a free-for-all, and the IT people wanted to block it and lock it. right? And this is a super common conversation. The great way to do this is a middle way, by the way, just for the record, and you can hear all about that in our governance section that David Johnson and I will do tomorrow. So if you're interested in teamwork governance, please look that session up for tomorrow. I think it's at 3:15. But they were having this conversation, and at one point, the leader who was there in the room, he turned to the user adoption person and said, you know, I really don't appreciate what it is you're saying, so why don't you just wait and I'll talk with you later. And I thought, really? Did you really need to say? This is in front of a room of like 20 people. And I watched this person's face, right? Watch the faces of the people in your meeting when you're not the one talking. Really important. This person who was the user experience folk was very passionate. And what the leader was trying to do was pause that conversation and get kind of things back on track. But it's all about how you do it, right? You could have done that in such a way and then spoken to that person later. So it's these sorts of meeting behaviors that will make or break your project, but also change the culture of your organization. Having inclusive meetings isn't just about is an important piece of this work. Hang on one sec. Sorry, I just coughed all over the big stage. That's great. So think about those things. Aim for that long-term relationship building, but be consistent. If you're going to have adoption planning meetings, set a standard rhythm of business that people can expect. Use Microsoft Teams. If you're doing Teams, plan this work with Teams. You can publish your agendas ahead of time, you can share your decks ahead of time, and you can have virtual meetings and record them if somebody can't attend. And then they feel a part of the process even if they can't attend that one individual meeting. These are little pieces of wisdom that may or may not be in the course, but will make you successful if you're going to do this work. This work is extremely rewarding. Really it is. It's so much fun, and it's been extremely transformative for my career and the career of lots of other people. But it does require kind of a sustained effort, right? And that's why it's important that you pace yourself, right? I don't use the word journey just because it's politically correct. It really is a journey, and it really does take time. And as you think about that, you want to think about your team. If you are the only person in your organization who's engaged in this work, you need to find your tribe inside your company. Now, they may be champions, right? They may be champions who want to help others and learn the technology, but you might get lucky and find someone else that's just like you that really wants to dig into this, that wants to have more strategic impact, right? Make friends with that person. Invite them into your project. Maybe what's happening for you, because you're a smaller organization or you're not ready yet, it may just be the two of you for now, right? But the people that I organized my first SharePoint user group with are still my friends today. And they're people who know things that I don't know, and I can go ask them questions. They make me successful. Those relationships make me successful. And the same thing was true inside my company. So as you look at this layout of the kind of talent you need to do this work in a large organization, there's two reasons for this also, right? Because if you're a department of one, then you need to realize all the things you're going to be doing. There's another set of worksheets on the Adoption Hub that lays out each strategic work stream in an adoption project plan and what the deliverables and outcomes are. And you can use that to have a conversation with your management about the investment you need to make in this work. Because you can get your certification, but you won't necessarily be successful if you're not set up for success in your organization, right? And you need to have that conversation, right? Have that conversation, and also look for other service adoption specialists. They are everywhere now. This course is a requirement for partners to have an adoption change management certification. Like my friend Mark here in the front, he's one of the first people who took my course. And I asked him, hey, was it any good? Luckily, he said yes, either because he was being nice or because he really meant it, but either way is good. But people in the business are taking this, and you can find this designation on their LinkedIn profile. So if you go take it, put it on your LinkedIn profile, right? Very important thing. But seek partners in the Microsoft ecosystem who have this specific talent, and they can help you, Right, the Fast Track team is fantastic at helping you move workloads to the cloud, how to enable Microsoft Teams, how to do an Exchange migration, things of that nature. But they don't actually do core adoption work. They'll hand it off to these partners. If you work with Fast Track, you'll hear them talk about a particular role called a success owner. I'm not sure if this is an actual term in the field, besides from us, but there's a lot of other names for it, but it's the person in your organization who owns Office 365 from a technical and business perspective. And sometimes that's two people, right? There might be somebody from a business perspective and somebody else from a technical perspective, which means you have to deal with both of them. But who is your success owner, right? Sometimes I'll find organizations where the success owner is actually someone in like HR, right? Because they think of it as an employee enablement initiative. Sometimes you have to get clear about who owns what. But that success owner helps you to identify and engage the right stakeholders to get that talent and that budget, right? And you can be this person as well. Oftentimes what happens is the adoption specialist evolves into that service owner, right? Or the person who has that strategic accountability all up for what Office 365 is going to do in your organization. And I'll tell you, that's a very fun job. And it's a fun job because you really get to help people, but also we have so many things that can help you be successful, right? There's lots of customer accelerators that will help you along this journey. And so, no longer do you kind of have to be there in the middle of the night reading all the documentation by yourself. But what you do need to do is talk to people. This is an example of doing some business scenario planning. So I call this the water cooler wisdom. I mentioned it earlier. This is an example of how I simply go and gather information from my users in an informal method and find out what their pain points are. And this is obviously a compilation of different types of roles. But you can hire companies to come in and do business process analysis for you if you want, or you can go and talk to users. Right? And you can do them both, obviously. But this will help you do that prioritization I was talking to you about. Right? When I worked at Skechers, the work that I did there was a lot that I started with was for the vice president of sales. And he was a very influential person in the organization for obvious reasons, as many of those folks are. And he was really hungry for new technology. Right? And so when I showed him what I could do with SharePoint at that time, he was like, I want that. Go build that for me. Right? I'm like, okay. And so it was great. We called it the SharePoint Plaza. I named it. Because then, after a while, people said, oh, it's over on the plaza. Have you been there yet? Right? And people would start to talk about SharePoint that way. It was awesome. So the key here is that somebody in your organization is hungry for new technology and willing to go first and is what I call a friendly. Those are the folks that you should start with when you're planning this work. And the example that I use in the course is a medium-sized company with some of these complexities. But as you take this back to your own company, you're going to have questions. You're going to have questions, and you're going to need help, and you're going to want to think through how you approach these strategies. That's what the community is absolutely for. Right? The community is there for you 24/7, and I like the diversity of thought there. You're going to find someone out there that's dealing with an issue like you're dealing with and the size of company that you might be in. I am definitely out there answering questions as well, but so are a lot of other people. Partners are out there. MVPs are out there. Right? And this is the Microsoft Technical Community, the Driving Adoption Forum that I'm referring to. Also, when you want to stay up to date with the release plans for these accelerators that I've been presenting about here at Ignite, that blog is where you'll find out that information. We just recently released the M365 Learning Pathways template there. You can find out about that, our free training tool that you can use for end user training. There's a great feature called Advisor for Teams that will actually build this project plan for you in Planner. I have another session on that on Friday. So we're building things to make your life a lot easier in this situation. But at the end of the day, you have to make sure that you're doing work that you are enjoying, right? And it's all about your focus. Relentless focus on business outcomes. Using technology as the enabler. Using Microsoft Teams as the thing that can really shift that collaboration, communication, and business workflow environment, right? It's a fantastic time to be in this business, but can also transform your career. So don't just think about this work. You're here at Microsoft Ignite, and we appreciate you being here. But don't just think about this work for your company or whoever sent you here. Think about it for yourself. Where do you want to be in 12 months? What transformation for your career do you want? Right? Because you can be a deep technical expert. You can join me on this service adoption specialist journey. You can go more into business. You have choices. You have power, right? This is a fantastic time to be in this business for all of us. So if you're not enjoying yourself, if you're not having a good time, if you don't feel like you have trajectory in the direction that you want, think about what it is that you're doing and make some different choices, because this work is necessary, right? And as far as I'm concerned, there's not enough of us who know how to be a business solution architect and merge these things together, right? More and more of us are going to be needed over time. So, I'm really excited. I think that it's a privilege to be here and share this work with everyone. I'm going to give you one more slide to take a picture of. I actually thought about this last night when I redid some of my slides. I'm like, oh, they're going to want a picture of this one. I'm going to throw this in. All right? If you're doing this work, those 4 properties on top are extremely important. The M365 roadmap, you can find what's coming. The technical community I was referring to, that's where the Driving Adoption blog is, and blogs for every single product, including the Teams community. There are blogs and forums, so you can ask your questions and read information. Docs.microsoft.com is all of our IT Pro and long-form adoption information, and developer.microsoft.com for our developer documentation. So this is the deep guidance, right? And the Microsoft Adoption Hub is where you should get started on the journey, for sure. So, I'm just really happy that everyone is here. I know that this can be challenging. Make sure you make your plans actionable. Talk to people, listen hard, and give yourself some grace as we all continue this evolution together. We are really here to help you at Microsoft. It is my privilege to lead this on behalf of Microsoft and be of service to all of you. So thank you so much for giving me your time. I really appreciate it. Thank you.